So, chopping tree. I think what I'm going to do today before start into talking about things. So I do have a few things on my mind. Is side of the hand, the actual chops. You really got to pay attention to your body. So you got to imagine all of the tendons and ligaments in here. You're really trying to hit with the knuckle.
Again, how are you guys?
Oh, hey. You want to view a video?
What's that?
Oh, it's right there.
Oh, that's from the affiliated.
Yeah, you get the cordwood for the woodpeckers.
They don't usually nest down here. You know, that east one?
Yeah, I see the one up on the ridge there.
There's one in the east too.
Yeah.
There's another one down by Adelaide.
Yeah.
Down in there.
Yeah.
They've been around quite a while. There's about 3 pairs in there.
Oh, that's a good sign. Just like the coyotes in here too. I've
Yeah,
never seen
they're
one.
up high enough. You know what I mean? Affiliated. They don't go down to the ground too much.
Yeah.
I know there's lots of coyotes. I've been here in the evening.
Yeah.
And she looks an awful lot like a coyote too. That's that's why I don't let her off the leash.
That's okay. She's doing fine. You're doing fine. You gotta have adaptive coping mechanisms. Relationships are very important. Loneliness and isolation is just as harmful as a heart attack. It'll take years off your life because we're social animals. And I have my issues because of things that have happened to me recently over the past few contracts. And generally, people don't understand, neurodivergent people or intelligence in general. It's very hard for those that don't understand to explain it to them, because no explanation will do. It's either you're on the same wavelength with those people or you're not. And there was 2 women that passed by here earlier, and I liked them, but I didn't really want to get too involved. It's kind of a contextual thing. I was a bit on the outside that time, but I'm used to this. I've bashed my knuckles off of trees when I was a teenager doing downhill, and if you're really going to start with hard training, you got to find something a little bit softer. You can't do it every day because the tendons in your knuckles go over the top. And you got to build up some scar tissue and calcification so that when you do actually punch someone, it's still going to hurt. It's not something you want to do, because violence begets violence. But you still got to be threatening, and the best way to be threatening is to have some display. Hi. Just talking to my phone here. Yeah. Hope you don't mind being on video.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Have a good one.
I'm actually very happy that I'm seeing more of these interactions, because during COVID there was a lot of anxiety, and it was really good to see more people on the trail. But unfortunately, there was, like, as the trends go, people give up, and they stop doing things for themselves. And once the reward is gone, the initial novelty, it's very hard to continue on with it, because the chemical reward system, tapers off. It's just like oxytocin, and in a relationship, because it's the bonding chemical, and that's the thing that actually keeps things stable. Because after the first year, physiologically, it's just not the same. You really got to keep up with the rituals and the, say, date nights and so on and so forth with the relationship to make it more interesting. Unfortunately, the problem is that we can become drunk on different ideologies. And then also, I'm going to reference back to, say, Adbusters. And Adbusters was a magazine that taught me a whole lot about the pharmaceutical industry in the late 90s, and that was the reason why. Also with having to do with advertising, which was their namesake, to bust the ad, right? No logo, Naomi Klein, so on and so forth, non-profits, the anti-capitalist movements, trying to tear down and cut down the cosmetic and pharmaceutical industries, because even at that time they were destroying the society for profit, in conjunction with the insurance and medical industries, because the century of the self, Edward Bernays, using propaganda for marketing to get people hooked onto things that they don't need. And there's a lot of things in the world that we don't need. Like, I'm an example of that. Going about with a poor man can only afford the best, because materialism after a while just isn't rewarding. And following an ideologue or a false idol, will betray you in the same way, because materialism becomes an idol in itself. There's been a lot of false idols in the past 20 years. The first one was money. We're going to talk. You think about the Gordon Gekko thing. Greed is good. From the 80s, and the proximity of drugs and alcohol and the abuse of such in the society since the 1970s, if not before that, having to do with the release of LSD, heroin, cocaine, barbiturates, and so forth, as a means of controlling the population coercively, and also to reduce the population in certain parts, demographics, or historical families. It's just the way that it was. If you can demoralize people to the point, see, like my hand is a little, I usually don't strike out here, it's a little bit sore, but that's okay. The way that you're going to go about, if you're going to go to skip back to it, you got to do the stretch and pull them back, right? So you still have full motion and full emotion, because when you cause harm to yourself, I'm trying to think about the origins of it. It's because you were betrayed by something, and you couldn't believe that you were betrayed by something. And nobody wants to believe that they were betrayed by something, but propaganda is that powerful in its message, because it replaces, creation and divine, or say divinity, that which is given to us on this earth, because, well, we only have one, this blue-green marble, and we only have one body for our entire lives. So, like, I've seen many people hurting thanks to my childhood, and I myself have been hurt many times. I've been taken advantage of, through for my kindness and my willingness to serve, because there's reward in doing things for other people. And a lot of life is being in service to other people, because doing things for yourself after a certain amount of time just isn't rewarding. You know, I've had more than a few girlfriends that had body image issues because of the advertising and because of the idealistic, the over-idealized, polished standard that was, put out there in the media. And then they fall into this revenge cycle where this idea that if we're all the same, or on the same platform, lifted to the same equality, then we can all be the same and achieve the same things. But the truth is that we're not the same. We're not created equal. None of us are created equal. We all start from different points in life, and we all start with different advantages and different intelligences. But the problem is that we don't take our own existences for what they are, and what they are is true gifts. We don't get to have a second chance, because this isn't a video game out here. It's very easily, I can step into that pond right there and die of hypothermia, just like that, because life is a choice, and if I'm going to correlate that to something like a controversial subject like abortion, I believe something, and even correlate that further to, say, something like Instagram whores and thoughts, and you see these women that are being exploited, and they're part of human trafficking, and they fall into these traps because they're beautiful and they're naive, because at times, I'm getting a little paranoid here, just out of the corner of my eye, and because they didn't necessarily come from good families. There's a lot of things that happen in modern life that have split up the family, on purpose, for the means of industrial slavery. And then it moves on from industrial slavery to reality prisons of the internet, where the dopamine feedback loop used for advertising and for consumerism completely, utterly destroy people's lives. And I say these things because if I don't, who will? I know I stand on the shoulders of giants, and there's people out there that have said the same things, and they suffered greatly because of it. And they're still suffering. They've been shadow banned. They've been, derided as radicals and as, extremists, narcissists, psychopaths, every insult that you can think of. Because, when you get to the top and you start speaking your mind, you make yourself a target. And as a good Christian, or any good, ethical person, it is your responsibility as a leader, and as a man specifically, because you want to get into, say, like a South Park reference, there's no strong women without strong men. There's none. It doesn't happen. And this one specific example that I'll use, because it's personal experience, and I love this woman. I love her to death, and I've never given up on her, but she still blames me for her problems. And she happened to have charged me with a couple of other people in a moment of, absolute and utter despondency, where I was trying to reach out because, to be truthful, I haven't been in a relationship in a very long time, like more than 5 years. And there's a lot of men out there that are just the same as me. But my history with women is very good, I'll have to say, even though I feel like sometimes I haven't treated them well, and there's ways that I could have done things better. Oh, more visitors. How do you do? You don't mind being on camera? Guess not. Okay. Hi. You don't mind being on camera?
Oh, you're on camera?
Yeah. I'm just gonna put this on the internet.
Okay. No, we'll get out of your way.
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
He's filming.
Yeah.
We'll just get out of your way really quick.
So yeah. What really hurt about that relationship was that I saw her fall victim to pornographic, psychological torture, propaganda. Yeah, absolutely. And the origins of social justice warriors came about from Tumblr and Reddit, and then, if not even further back, from smaller websites such as DeviantArt, in under the guise of bringing about, you know, equity and equality to women who had been absolutely beaten down at every single aspect and every turn, because they were a little different. You know, they didn't act the same as you know, the beautiful ones, because you know, girls can be very mean. And if I can reference to another story of mine, in high school, you know, I didn't really get involved in relationships until the middle of high school, at 15 or 16 years old, and it was thanks to the cadets. You know, learning the rules of engagement and mutual respect, and, you know, professionalism. So when and where you should, you know, flirt, so to speak, or be kind, you know, because no frat policies, that sort of thing, because there's a lot of issues with power structures in the past where men, and even women, once they reach a position of power, would become domineering and exploitive, because, you know, people that have been hurt, and they want revenge, and they want to have some sort of you know, catharsis, can end up being just the same as a psychopath, because anyone can come into a position of psychopathy or psychosis for long periods of time, but having to do with the pharmaceuticals and the propaganda, you know, it's absolutely intoxicating. You know, this particular person that, you know, I'm just not going to give up on her, whether she likes it or not. And you can call me a psychopath, but you never give up on the people that you love. Don't turn your back on family, okay? You just don't do that. We don't have room for isolationism in this society anymore, or in this world. You know, good fences make for good neighbors. We need to have this respect. And I'm not going to say something extreme, any more extreme than what I already have. And what I have, and what scares me is the fact that what I'm saying is extreme. You know, that the truth is now the extreme. That, you know, the reasonable is now the unreasonable. You know, the fact that I have to stand out here in the cold, you know, and extol the virtues of Christianity to the world, in or at least, you know, the gospel according to an aircraft mechanic, crazy taekwondo person doing hard training, you know, and breaking my bones. You see? Because I don't have time for this anymore. I want a family, and we should have families, because God wants us to have sex. He wants us to have happy families and happy communities. And the only way to go about that is with solid relationships based upon trust. And the thing is that about love, you know, again, after, say, the first year, when all the chemicals disappear, the love chemicals, the bonding chemicals disappear, it becomes a choice. It becomes a choice to love. You see this girl here, my dog, she's 13 years old, you know, and a lot of people would have put their dog down by now. But you never put a good dog down. Never. Don't ever put a good dog down. what happened to this woman, you know, in my own time, like I flunked out. I'll be truthful. I flunked out of university in the second year because of alcohol issues and because the course loading. As I said before, there was a purposeful effort by these universities to try and compete with the massive online courses. And they knew that their power base was being, undercut from beneath them. And so they did their best to try and attract more and more people by expanding the campuses and making them, huge attractions like adult daycares. And then, not really metering or being responsible with how much alcohol issues or drug issues were happening on campus. Much to the credit of the campus police in each of these institutions trying to do their best. You can only do so much. You can't save everybody. And what happened to this woman is that I saw her, like she used this to harm herself, and she quite possibly suffered some sort of sexual abuse in a previous setting, but she didn't want to talk about it. She didn't really want this to explain why, because she was going through something, and I was going through something at the same very moment. The shame of flunking, and the depression in coming home from university. I wanted to be one of the first fighter pilots that I knew of with an arts degree, because I wasn't really a scientifically minded person at the time. I had to work at being more of an INTP kind of personality, more analytical. It had to become a practice in order to become an aircraft mechanic thereafter. So in these moments, we did save each other as far as I could tell. But you can only do so much. She blamed me for her problems because her head was filled with victimhood ideology and Marxist-Leninist propaganda, and the idea that in order to have women be brought up, we had to tear down masculinity, toxic masculinity, or this idea of what a man was supposed to be. But it was this idea in the media of what a man was. And there's these other concepts like rape culture and stuff like that, where men were just being complete and utter assholes. So there is some weight to that. Yes, I definitely will say. But men suffer from anxiety as well. We suffer from depression. We suffer from, thoughts of self-harm and suicide, because the society at large put a lot of pressure on us, and there was a lot of other pressures for men to go into university and become doctors and engineers and so on and so forth, and then the trade suffered because there's different kinds of learning styles, different adaptations and intelligences. And I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details, but I watched my woman, and I'll be truthful. I wanted to marry her. I did. I wanted to give her a ring and do as keep working at the relationship and ourselves into the future and have children. That was my end goal, as it always was. But just there's something about this ideology of SJW turning these women into warriors for a social cause, and progressive Christianity, this kismet gone wrong concept that I'm going to call it, transgenderism, the rainbow warriors. You try to give these people a platform to raise them up so that they have a voice. But the thing is that when you bring everybody up, you bring the extremes up and push them up higher than the rest of everybody else, then we all suffer. Okay? Everybody suffers after that. She continued on and has continued on with this idealism and this propaganda that has poisoned so many young women's minds. You know, and as a a rebel with a cause, I choose to tear it down. I choose to cut it down. I choose cut the whole thing down, because we cut down the forest to put up a parking lot and to raise buildings, right? There's a reason for naturalism and a return to some semblance of reasonability and balance, because balance with nature is key. Without balance and respect for our gender roles and our identities, our central identities, because there's a core set of principles to all of us. And I watched this woman turn from a beautiful young lady into an absolute monster. It's time to change. We have to change it, because what it's doing to young women and to young men with this dopamine loop addiction and the mixtures of birth control, antidepressants, alcohol, marijuana. I like marijuana and alcohol, but everything in moderation, including moderation. So it doesn't matter every once in a while. You got to be reasonable about this stuff. But there's just some personality types and people that have been through a lot of shit that are more susceptible to falling into these addictions, and then it becomes a self-defeating cycle, and the person spirals out of control until there's nothing left. And we have to do something. We have to bring them up. And as I said before, I've learned a lot because of my privileges of being around some very damaged people, right? Teen Challenge Farm and Don Wilkinson. Don Wilkinson was one of the leaders and the founders of Teen Challenge, and he was involved with the heroin epidemic in the late 70s in New York. And there's a lot of drug problems that happened in the 80s in New York, especially having to do with the club scenes, MDMA or ecstasy, speedball, cocaine, heroin, and also the in close proximity to the gay communities, because after a certain point, risky behavior is not fun enough anymore for them. And what's not fun is watching someone destroy their lives and blaming other people for their problems in society and not doing enough about it. That's the most painful thing to watch. And I myself, if you look by my example, I have problems. I do. I have serious problems. But in order to do the things that I have to do, is very special. You have to be very mentally stable. You have to have this analytical nature about you, and that's how we have to treat this. The manipulation used by psychopaths of emotions has to stop, and it stops now. I hope we all get the message. The truth is, we can all become psychopaths. If you think I'm crazy, look in the mirror.